implications on trade flows, right? Not only between US and China, but how it impacts the rest of the region in Asia Pacific, and more specifically, does it have any overhang around Indonesia itself, right? That's the first mega trend. The second one is really around, and everybody knows this, the continued emergence of the middle class, as well as the continued emergence of the growth of e-commerce in Indonesia. Again, as defined, greater than 40% year-on-year growth. Will that still continue? And if it does, will it continue in the same shape and form that it has over the past couple of years? So in today's panel, right, our good panelists here, have been in this play for a couple of years at least. So it'll be good to hear from them, the whole evolution of the industry, from when you guys first started a few years ago to where it is right now, to in the future, where do you see it to be, right? The third mega trend, not so mega, it's in the area of actually the competitive space itself, which is there's much greater digital logistics competitors and startups that's emerging. It might be in niche areas, but there's a lot more that's emerging, especially in Indonesia. And not only that, the traditional 3PLs, the traditional forwarders, the traditional logistics service providers are suddenly waking up as well. So in the past 12 months, 6 to 12 months, there's been initiatives by the bigger guys to counter the threat of the digital logistics players, right? So it'd be interesting to see and hear the experience on the panel around their experience around this. So let me start off with Ali first. Maybe Ali, maybe can you just do a quick introduction, next 5 minutes, talk a little bit about what you've seen in the industry from Indonesian industry perspective, logistics, transportation, over the past couple of years. Has it evolved, and how did you need to evolve, to it, and where do you see it going in the future?
Assalamualaikum everybody. I've been doing logistics for 22 over years, so I'm technically one of the old guys as compared to my compatriot on the left here in Ninja Van. But it was somewhere in 2014, 2015 where we see the emergence of disruptors to the industries, bringing technology into the picture and pretty much shaking an industry in which I joke is the second oldest profession in the world. The first, you can guess. So I personally saw or realized the impact of how bad it is if you're still a traditional logistician and you cannot adapt fast enough or well enough to the disruptors out there, bringing technology, taking advantage of technology to complete the task or to do a logistics task and whatnot. So when having that approach, when founding Janio in March 2018 after exiting another startup, I wanted to position ourselves rather than a disruptor to be an enabler. How can we help a traditional logistics company to compete with the likes of Ninja Van, or even with the likes of DHL or FedEx with their deep pockets and whatnot? Because at the end of the day, logistics it's not rocket science. It's delivering from point A to point V. Technology can only do so much. At the end of the day, it's still a human aspect to it. So the way when Janio was developing our product, we wanted to see how we can pretty much first and foremost, rather than compete, enable a collaborative environment, be it in Indonesia or globally. On top of that, how can we provide the infrastructure for companies who can be deemed traditionalists and all to pretty much work together. So true to our vision of providing the infrastructure, so we focus on developing a technology that SMEs from anywhere in the world or anywhere you are to pretty much use our technology and tap into our network. So a Mark Dragon who perhaps has 10 vans in Jogja who is underutilized right now can be part of a Janio network and become Janio Jogja, use Janio network to do last mile, but more importantly right now, by tapping into the network, Mark Dragon van services can compete with a DHL or FedEx or even Post Indonesia to start exporting out from Indonesia, because we sincerely believe Indonesia is a massive market, a massive potential with regards to the export market. So that's how when we founded Janio, our approach was to pretty much how can we enable the traditional logistician in Indonesia, not in pretty much Jakarta, but in the second tier city, to compete with the like of the disruptors and also the integrators with deep pockets. So pretty much is how we saw it, is using technology to create a collaborative approach.
Maybe before we get to Eric, Ali, you can talk a bit, 1-2 minutes around Janio and having that cross-border element, right? Where the trade lanes that you serve, and where do you see to be increased interest in terms of those trade lanes over the past couple of years?
So with regards to Janio, we position ourselves as a cross-border logistics platform. We don't focus pretty much on the domestic play, but pretty much on the logistics play. Why we said so? Purely because we sincerely believe the domestic play is already very saturated. We have good players such as Ninjaman, JNE, JNT and whatnot in Indonesia. To enter the domestic play is, lack of a better word, suicidal. So that's why our focus is pretty much on the cross-border play. Not only Indonesia, but putting Singapore aside, customs in Southeast Asia is known to be very notorious or dynamic. So we wanted to see how we can structure it and make life easier. So what we did is we break down the supply chain in all the different modules, work with the different key players in the different modules, from first mile to origin warehouse to freight forwarding to customs to last mile, put them into our platform accordingly and connect everybody together. So with that said, our vision is a traditional logistics guy. So going back to Singapore for a while, where we are based. In Singapore, there's 367 freight forwarding agents that is registered with SAAA. Most of these agents feel that they cannot service the likes of Lazada or Shopee or Amazon or whatnot, purely because they don't have a first mile capability, they don't have last mile capability, and they have no idea how to do customs clearance. What they know how to do is freight forwarding. By tapping into our network, becoming a Janio network partner, they immediately have access to become to several first mile service provider, last mile service provider, and also customs clearance capability in the entire part of Asia, ASEAN, well, at least in the big six accordingly. With regards to our market accordingly, Indonesia being the biggest ASEAN market is still the biggest destination, followed by Philippines and Thailand. Biggest origin is still China, but we sincerely believe in investing in Southeast Asia, because we sincerely believe that countries such as Indonesia, such as Thailand will be big exporting countries. The potential is there. So that's why we're trying to encourage or pretty much set up a strong network in ASEAN to develop a strong origin accordingly.
Thanks, Ali. So from the cross-border discussion, let's get into a bit more domestic discussion, right? Which is Eric, maybe share your experience around the past couple of years, how the industry has changed in Indonesia, right? And where do you see it going towards?
Yep, thanks Mark. Hi guys, I'm Eric, country head for Ninjavan Indonesia. So yeah, as explained by Ali before, we're a tech-based logistics company focusing a lot in domestic delivery, last mile, to be exact. And we've been studying Indonesia for like almost more than 4 years ago. Starting in very small ruko in Jakarta, and now we have 400 stations across Indonesia. We are proudly claiming that we can deliver across Indonesia, anywhere across Indonesia, from Sabang to Merauke. And we have 6,000 ninjas in our platforms, and they're the one who made it all possible, delivering parcels to you guys. And yeah, so pretty much we're talking about industry logistics in Indonesia currently. The way we see it, the way I see it is logistics, especially in last mile, it's getting commoditized. People cannot actually differentiate between a regular product from one brand to another brand. It's just like you're buying a bottled water, you buy based on the brand. And I think logistics is getting into that end. So of course, a lot of new entrants coming in the past years, a lot of players focusing in a very niche segment. They can do same-day delivery for inter-island movement, for example. They can do super economic product, for example. They try to differentiate on that end, but still people don't actually get the real differentiator between one brand to another brand. And I think the way we try to differentiate in India is by having a different obsession than some other players. Our obsession is really to serve Indonesians local SMEs. And the way we serve Indonesian local SMEs is not just using the delivery infrastructure that we have. Of course, that's the backbone for enabling everything, but we want that for all SMEs who come to our platform, they can actually enjoy all the features that they need to develop their business. So I'll give you an example. We have this program called Ninja Academy where, for example, a social commerce player, they sell in Instagram or they sell in Facebook, come into our platform, we give them everything starting from photo taking, cataloging into their page, decorating their page. Basically it's marketing agencies, but provided by us. So when they come to our platform, they get the business scaled up, they get the delivery done, fixed, and we're developing that features along the line.
Yeah, thanks, Eric. So there's an interesting observation, right? Which is, you mentioned brand, and you also mentioned almost like from a niche moving stuff to a more services wrapped around that moving stuff, right? So maybe I'll start with Eric first, then go to Ali. Maybe Eric. So what's your perspective? Are you looking at doubling down on that services element, that services outside of pure transportation, or are you still looking at growing either the network or the client base, within Ninja Van?
Yeah. So it's kind of like two prongs that we need to chase at the moment. Of course, operationally, we still need to improve. Our tech need to be maintained, but we have an obsession. Again, we have our vision that we want to serve SMEs. And to serve SMEs, you cannot just improve your operations because they have limit on that, right? For example, you send parcels from Jakarta to Medan. You cannot send it within 3 hours. You can send it same day possibly, but the price is going to be more expensive. So maybe the market acceptance is not there. And then we try to think that, what else? Like, to serve our obsessions, what else we need to build, to create. And then we start thinking creatively within our team that, we want one-stop solutions for them as well. When they come to our platform, we can serve them for the logistics, we can serve them for the COD, for example, that they need. We can also serve them in terms of helping them selling better. So one of the feature that Ivan mentioned is actually because we have Southeast Asia network, right? And countries like Thailand, you mentioned before, is a really good producer of fashion, for example. So we can help the social commerce in Indonesia procure things from Thailand or from Malaysia or the other way around. So that's something that we try to develop moving forward. So we want to focus in building SMEs ecosystem within our platform.
Sounds interesting. So it's a slight departure away from pure transportation itself, right? And maybe Ali, talk a little bit about your customers as well, and give a bit of a perspective on how you compete versus people like DHL, for example, right? Do you provide a different type of services like Ninja vendors, or is it a price competition, or is it service level, or is it cost? How do you compete against the bigger guys, right?
I guess for us, like I said, the pressure that we have in India where has is slightly different. We are competing in two different sectors. We are more competing with the likes of the DHL, the FedEx, and the TNT of the world. While the DHL and the FedEx and the TNT of the world still focus on being a heavy asset business whereby they invest in their own vans, warehouse and aeroplane purely because to ensure better control and customer service. We went the other route to be, I won't say no asset but asset light. So we do invest in key infrastructure such as a transshipment hub that has airside access in Singapore. We have our own customs license in Indonesia, in Singapore, Philippines, Malaysia and Thailand. Accordingly. So these are core assets that we invest in. With all the core assets that we invest in, we then pretty much take a hybrid approach with regards to how our international supply chain solution is, whereby we use other people's resources and pretty much tap into their resources and make sure that we can pass the do the cross-border in the most efficient manner. So technically right now, a DHL who is shipping to Jakarta, because they are required to utilize their own plane and their own hub, the routing will be DHL Singapore to DHL Guangzhou, DHL Guangzhou to DHL Manila, Manila then to Singapore, to Jakarta. While us, because we are not tagged to any airline or assets or whatnot, we actually can take any commercial carrier and immediately fly down to Jakarta accordingly. But the biggest difference, because we have our own customs brokerage license, in which, take example, a DHL Indonesia doesn't have, we take advantage of it and we can guarantee clearance. It's a promise that we still hold till today, or money back guarantee. So that's how we pretty much differentiate ourselves. But I think in the next coming year, we are trying to improve the supply chain even further with regards to the turnaround time. Currently, if you are importing into Indonesia, there's only one major gateway, which is Jakarta Airport. The next major gateway is Denpasar. But take example, cross-border order which is in Medan, which is only 1 hour and 15 minutes to Singapore, has the routing that he has to go right now is Singapore to Jakarta, then take a flight or cross-state trucking into Medan. That takes around 6 to 7 working days. We are in the process of opening up pretty much what we say more gateways to make sure that, again, the breakdown, we offer much more granularity in managing our loads directly to second tier city instead of just going through a major hub.
Got it. So we've been talking a lot about growth and opportunities. Let's flip it the other way around, right? Let's talk about problem areas, right? What are the 2 or 3 key areas that hinders your growth and your development, specifically in Indonesia? Maybe let's start Eric and then go on to.
Yeah. So if we're talking about logistics alone, specifically about logistics, I think our main problem at the moment in express world is more on the middle mile side. We're archipelago country, and we're overly dependent on air freight in this case, because express, the promise is always to be fast, and you have to leverage airline in this case. And if you notice in Indonesia, there are only like maybe 2 players in airline who can serve cargo, and that's a major hurdle for us, because kind of like almost monopolistic market in a way. So I can only imagine if all 3PLs in Indonesia, all express player in Indonesia, we combine, invest in airline, invest in a plane together, and serve the dense lane in this case. That can be a solution.
That might be something where we can pass around the kitty to start the airline.
Right, so yeah.
Okay, that's one.
Yeah. So that's one. Second, I think in terms of again, back to the product that we offer itself, the product being overly commoditized, as in people cannot actually differentiate. So I think that's the real problem that we're facing. We have an incumbent in Indonesia who's been serving the market for like 30 years. How to tackle someone, or how to get some market share from someone who's been in the market for like 30 years? We have to always innovate. And like I mentioned before, the way we innovate is to determine what's our obsession, what's our vision moving forward. And for us, our mission is to serve SMEs. And SMEs can be those offline sellers, those who are selling in Instagram or Facebook, and we help them to be more digital, help them aware in terms of selling it better in digital platform. So that's why we create all these Ninja Academy features. And the feature itself is not only to help them sell more, but also to give them a better cash flow, for example, using our COD advance to give them a better selection in terms of assortment, in this case, leveraging our network in Southeast Asia. So that those are things that we do to differentiate our brand towards compared to the others.
And Eric, on that, maybe let's hang on there for a little bit longer. So when you compete against the traditional folks, right, do you still see it as taking market share away from them, or do you compete in a different market altogether in the sense that they are still hung up on the large customers and you're getting more the SMEs kind of a play? Is that something that we see?
Yeah. So I guess if we look at e-commerce market as the main supply of our folio, it's growing, massively growing. That means that Indonesia market will not be able to be served by just one or two players. We'll need various players, multiple players in the market. But again, it depends on the growth that we want to book in terms of our company strategy, right? So we feel that we need to grow fast, we need to grow strong. And to grow fast and grow strong, that means that we have to take some of the existing market. And we cannot just always leverage on the e-commerce growth alone and helping and hoping that our business is growing just because of our dependencies on the e-commerce market. Yeah.
Got it, thanks. And another food for thought, we had a chat outside just now. So there are some incumbent players in Indonesia that have been serving the market for 20 plus, 30 plus years, right? And they have a certain market share. And you guys have been around for 4 or 5 years in Indonesia. Maybe give us a sense, when do you think you can exceed or be the number one provider in Indonesia in the future? How long do you think that will take? Is it going to be next 12 months? Next 10 years? What's that number going to be like?
Good question. So we're doing like 300,000 deliveries a day. The incumbent, they are doing like maybe 2 million, 1.5 to 2 million deliveries a day. I cannot just pluck number out of the thin air, but I guess as long as we focus on our obsession, as long as we focus on our visions, I think we'll get there. Because as an incumbent, you're getting bigger, it's a lot more inflexible for you to move and to innovate. I guess we just have to leverage on that, we just have to be faster.
Yeah. Thanks. So thank you for not answering the question. But I would say sooner rather than later, I guess.
Hopefully, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Ali, how about yourself, in terms of where do you see the growth, right? Are you taking share away from the incumbents, or is there a certain market that you're shooting for that you're trying to grow more?
Coming from Zalora, I'm still of the sincere belief that e-commerce in Southeast Asia is still at the growing stage. A lot of e-commerce is still focused at the domestic to domestic fulfillment level. What we're trying to do, which is cross-border, is pretty much still at an infant stage. Key players which is currently dominating the market are the likes of Shopee and Lazada, with regards to their importing out from China accordingly. With that said, because we also see that the major origin is still out from China, but origins such as Australia and Korea growing very fast, we sincerely believe there's a huge potential to drive origin from this non-China into Southeast Asia. But with that said also, we are taking a strong bet that countries such as Indonesia, Thailand, and to a certain extent Malaysia will also be strong exporting countries. Intra-ASEAN trade should be good.
And back to the original question around, what are the 2 or 3, challenges that you face, in your business right now?
I think I echoed Eric's sentiment, whereby we are still limited also by the domestic carriers and all. As I mentioned earlier, everything is now routed to Jakarta or to a certain extent Denpasar. When it hits Indonesia, basically we are in the mercy of Garuda and Lion Air. But that has to change. How that has to change, the way we envision it is just by opening up more corridors, entry points or exit points. But with that said, bureaucracy is still the number one thing, and this is not bureaucracy in customs. I sincerely believe customs Indonesia have done a brilliant job with regards to managing e-commerce as compared to all the some other nations and all. But the bureaucracy in opening up entry point or exit point other than traditionally Jakarta or Denpasar, that's the tough part for us.
I've got one more question before I open up to the floor for any Q&A. So feel free to jot down on a piece of paper and come up to ask any questions later. The question I have, the last one I have for you guys is this. From an innovation perspective, right? There's different types of innovation that we can talk about, right? From business model innovation, product innovation to technology innovation, right? And both of you are in organizations that are not just Indonesia, it's regional, right? So maybe just share a little bit about, in this regional organization, even though it's a startup, right? How much innovation can you actually do for a country like Indonesia as compared to your other counterparts in other countries, right? Maybe start with Eric and then Ali.
So I'm very thankful. In fact, I'm very grateful because, like, in Ninja, we are really allowed to innovate, and in fact, like, other countries learn a lot from us because we are the most complex market within the region. The penetration for the market is the most difficult, I would say, and a lot of initiatives that is happening in Indonesia is not yet implemented in other countries. It's very easy for them to just gain the market share. In fact, for us, it's very difficult. So we're allowed to be creative. We're allowed to make mistakes, most importantly. And I guess the most important is to just try it first, go on, make it fast, implement it fast, scale up fast, but also you need to be able to scale down fast if you learn from the mistakes. So again, back to your questions, a lot of the initiatives, a lot of the creativity is in fact coming from Indonesia, and those innovations is really coming from the local team, from the Indonesian team first. The regional will then study what's happening in the country and try to implement it with some other countries with respect to their problems.
Okay, thanks. And how much leeway do you have with this innovation when it comes to, let's say, technical development, for example, right?
So, if you're talking about technical development, a lot of it is actually emphasizing in our ops. So a lot of our tech product is being used in our operations, and within the operations, actually, the innovation that we made is being accommodated well by the regions. In terms of speed, in terms of interface, in terms of the transparencies itself. And the kind of improvement in operations normally is very easy to be applied in some other countries. Whereas on commercial is a bit different because it's all about market strategies. So back to your questions. Actually, in terms of capabilities or resources that they are willing to deploy to us is pretty much okay for now,
And maybe give a sense to the audience, right, in terms of what's the breakdown of your tech team versus operations, right? How does it look like, just so that we get a sense of where's the focus and how you're generating growth.
So it's a bit uncomparable between the tech team and the operation because operations is really people on the ground. We have like 5,000 just in Indonesia. But the distribution of the tech team is, most of them actually centralized in Singapore, but we have one department is in Indonesia. So, and this department in Indonesia, they learn a lot about the local needs and they try to adapt back to the core. So we have like around 150 engineers.
I think that's an important point, right? Because it can't be fully centralized in a certain country. You need to adapt to the local country, situations, and I think you guys have sort of learned to that model, right? How about you, Ali? Around the whole the business model in the Indonesian space.
As I mentioned, I've been doing this for 22 over years, and I classify myself as a traditional logistician. I sincerely believe that yes, technology brings the efficiency, but the effectiveness has always have to come from the human being itself. But with that said, entering the startup world, we always ask ourselves whether we are a logistics company that has technology or a technology company that does logistics. So it's very clear to us at least that we are a technology company that is trying to enable logistics. So with that said also, yes, the having infrastructure helps, having I would say a strong network help, but at the end of the day is the technology that we have that we are trying to, I would say, improve an industry which is still very traditional. One of the way that we are looking into this, take example, going back to Indonesia. Indonesia, depending who you ask, is an island of 15,000 or 17,000 islands and all. Nobody can say they can do all 17,000 islands well. I mean, even if I ask my friend here whether he can do all 17,000 islands, I do not know. If he say can, then okay. But even the likes of JNE, Post Indonesia and whatnot, I can say that nobody can say they can do all 17,000 islands well. So with that said, we have traditionally how a traffic controller, I would say, segregate or assign the load is pretty much, I like Eric's face better than the face of rather than the salesperson of JNE. I give Eric much more load. That's what's happening and all. So we are trying to take out that human element and pretty much put an AI learning, an AI machine to pretty much give the allocation based on all the determinants that we have put in place, all the customers has put in place, such as the required service level, whether it's COD or non-COD, whether it's pretty much I would say need different routing or whether there's returns or whatnot. So with all these I would say determinants or factors and all, we put it into an AI learning so that the assignment of who does the last mile is not done by a human being who decide I like Ninja Van better than that other company, but it's through machine learning accordingly. Okay.
So at this point in time, I'll open up to the floor if there's any questions to any of the panelists over here. Any questions? There's one question over there.
I'm Rose from Mid VIP. I was just wondering, since this is logistic business, I was wondering, what about fulfillment? I mean, okay, Ninja Express, you have more like going digital marketing to help. I mean, with Ninja Academy, you were just helping them with digital marketing for SMBs. Okay, for that question for that is, how many SMBs that you already engaged with? And so there's two questions. Actually, there's three questions. Actually, there's lots of questions. Okay, first is that one, how updates you are with fulfillment business, because this is logistics. And then second one, how many SMBs that you already engaged with? And for Janio, since there's a $830 billion in e-commerce Southeast Asia, how much market share or how many percentage that you have for serving Southeast? I think that's it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think there's loaded questions. Maybe we start Eric first. The numbers around Academy and of course the fulfillment question, right? How do we know that you can do fulfillment?
Yeah. Yeah, so we don't do fulfillment. But in fact, we have a lot of requests and feedbacks that, SMEs, as they're growing, they also need fulfillment. So, accommodating those needs, we work with some partners. So, I can still give you all the features, all the delivery, last mile and stuff, but if you want fulfillment, I can work with my reliable partners, which is already integrated to our platform as well. So the interface is seamless as well. Then in terms of the number of SMEs that is already engaged with our platform, by now we're engaging with more than 9,000 SMEs across Indonesia, and that's scattered across the platform, be it e-commerce platform, social commerce platform, and so on.
Maybe Eric, let me extend the question first before I go to Ali. On the service level expectations instead of just fulfillment, right? So you might not do the fulfillment, a partner does the fulfillment, but how about service level? How do you actually help to manage the service level on behalf of the client?
Service level in terms of speed of delivery and stuff.
Speed, expectation that something arrives at a certain time.
So SLA, for example, speed of delivery, we have the guidance, right? And we pretty much follow the market as well. But what we want to be known as is actually we're the fastest for Java delivery in this case. And that's our trademark. So for like Jakarta Medan or Jakarta Bali, we pretty much follow the market. And we have a list of SLA which customers can just log into our website and search for the SLA for each origin and destination. Yeah.
Thanks. So I think instead of the fulfillment thing, because fulfillment also entails a bit of do you have hard assets or not kind of a thing. A more complete question would be around service level. How do they manage service level expectations and requirements, right? So yeah, thanks Eric. And Ali, how about yourself from an e-commerce? She's asking you about market share. So how do you work with these e-commerce providers, and what do you think is the market share that you have right now or that you want to have in the future?
I think if we focus on only Indonesia, truth be told, only customers know the answer. We do not know, but the thing is, in the industry where we are operating at, there's many, I wouldn't say competitors, but there's a lot of frenemies. Because we build our module based on stack. So take example, if one of our frenemies approach us, say, yo Ali, I need help in custom brokerage. I say, Bismillah, Fadal, I help you using your custom brokerage. After I clear, I pass it back to them to do their last one. So because we are built very modularly, it's not an ego trip on us. We don't need to be like Janio to be fronting it all the time. We are here to, again, enable the industry. We are not here to disrupt. We just want to enable, encourage people to do logistics or add some new spark to a dying business or no, I won't say a dying business, but a traditional business. So truth be told, when I do not know what's our volume and all, but I have two of my staff sitting right in front. When I hired them last year or early this year, I told them very openly, 4 years from now, I want to be the DHL of Southeast Asia.
One more question from the floor. Yes, please.
This is question for Ali. You mentioned before that the biggest challenge to do business in Indonesia, especially for logistic in your company, was bureaucracy. So I'm a little bit disagree about this statement. Maybe you can explain a little bit more related this challenge related your experience. The next, if you already understood related this challenge, what's your strategic plan in your company to beat this challenge? Thank you.
So just to be very clear, I'm half Indonesian. I was born in Singapore. After 1 week, I was FedEx over in a box to grow up in Indonesia. My mom is Sunda. Yeah. So even though my passport is red, my heart is still Raja Wali. So look, doing business in Indonesia now as compared to 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, is much more easier. The bureaucracy is clearer, but it's not that straightforward as still compared to standards if we are comparing it to Singapore. That's truth be told. I'm very candid on this. The administration has done a good job, but they can still do a better job. You ask any businessman, is it easy? It's still not, but it is easier. So bureaucracy is still a big challenge. So if you ask, I mean right now with the change of the president and everything or whatnot, if I want to do something or open up a new gateway or whatsoever, somebody in customs will tell me, you wait until the president goes up or the new parliament. If that's not bureaucracy, I don't know what it is. Yeah. While in Singapore, I don't need to wait for Lee Kuan Yew not Lee Kuan Yew, Lee Hsien Loong to be changed or whatnot. Business still goes on. But in Indonesia, government plays a major part with regards to the administration of all the ministry. That's the truth.
And I think I'll extend that to a lot of the emerging economies. A lot of it actually, is of that nature, right? Just because they haven't reached the maturity level and transparency, and maybe they don't even want to. Time's up, but because we have a very good experience on this panel, I'll just ask them one more question, which is around what is the advice that you would give, to any of those up and coming startups out there? Maybe 2 or 3. Advice that you would give them if they want to start up, a logistics startup, digital logistics startup in Indonesia. What will you give to them? Eric first.
Okay. I think, actually amplifying what Ali has been saying. Technology is there to make your process more efficient, to make your life easier. But in logistics, the most important factor is still people. Those who deliver the parcels, those who is working with your internal team, innovate, be creative. So to me, the most important aspect is to find the right people with you, to find the right partners for your startup, and just to keep it going. And then I think my second principle in life is always we need to execute fast. If we want to beat down the Goliath, we need to execute fast. But we also need to learn fast. Scale up fast, scale down fast. That's it.
Thanks, Eric. Ali?
So my advice to aspiring entrepreneurs who want to enter the logistics space, don't do it.
It's good input, yeah.
Yeah. No. Why? Purely because it's a nightmare. If you're not spiritually strong, mentally strong, physically strong, honestly, it's going to be a very lonely journey. Mark knows my background. I felt once it was a miracle that I stood up back. So if you do decide to do it, again, don't give up. Logistics, like I said, is the second oldest profession in the world. Until hell freezes over, somebody still needs to move their parcel from point A to point B. There's always an opportunity there that you don't need to be feared with existing players such as JNE, Ninja Van, or even Janio. The market is very big, especially with regards to e-commerce. We are only at the starting stage. There's definitely much potential and all. But I just feel that the old mindset of always competing have to go away. It's all about collaborating, working together, tapping on each other's resources and all.
Okay, and with that, that people, that partnership and collaboration and the tenacity, I think with that, we come to the conclusion of the panel. Thank you very much, Eric and Ali,